Well, hi. I'm starting once again. I've done this a bunch of times because I keep trying to show you the shop, and then I don't know, I go off on a tangent and I lose where I'm at, and I don't know what I've shown you, so oh my goodness. So I'm going to just try to get through this and show you the shop. So this is my shop. It is 20 feet wide and 32 feet long. I'm kind of just trying to do a pan here to show you the general outlook, and then we're going to go into different areas and look at it. So this is the width, 20 feet wide, and then it is 32 feet long. I guess I can go by the front door here and show you. That's the 32-foot long part. And what I did when we first built it was during the construction, I said, look, I need an office in the corner. So this is a 10 by 10 foot office. The shop has 10-foot ceilings, which is specifically done. My father-in-law suggested that, and I'm so glad he did because I wasn't thinking that. But yeah, I've got these high ceilings so I can have stuff hanging because I really like stuff just everywhere. I think it's super stimulating and really fun. And I think it's a great size for a single person. I honestly wish I had more, and I can justify that with what I would put in it and how I would use it and all that kind of stuff. But the facts are, this is a wonderfully sized shop for a single person, even two people, because I can have somebody in the office doing stuff, like that's where I do my editing and stuff like that, and then somebody can be out here at the workbench working on stuff. So if you had two people, this is a wonderfully sized shop, I believe. I set the shop up in sections, kind of like, this corner here is all for like my modeling. I've got all of my modeling supplies, as much as I can pack in here, frankly. And it's nice because it's kind of a U-shaped orientation, and that allows me to sit in there and just kind of pivot and spin and grab the stuff I need and do all the work, painting in the back. And I've got my computer stuff so I can do live streams and live demonstrations. And when I do my consulting, because I do consulting, that's part of the business that I do, is consulting for folks. I just had a friend that I got on with, and this was not a consulting, but he said, boy, we got on the call and we started talking about stuff and the juices started flowing and I'm all ready to dive into diorama building. And because my life is diorama building and family at this point, right? And so I get so excited about it. I try to give that energy to other people, and it's a lot of fun. And we come up with cool ideas and we think out of the box. I'm kind of that person. So anyway, that's a really fun part of it. So that is the model corner. This is the woodworking corner. And I did this kind of special because what I plan on doing is I want to build all my cabinets in the shop like these. These are all hand built by me, and like the big one on the left is cherry, and the one next to it is actually cherry too. And then the ones on the right those are like sapele and mahogany. I love the darker woods, the kind of reddish brown woods. And so the rest of the shop eventually will have these cabinets that I've got replaced with those cabinets. I built those too, these ones I'm looking at, but they were just like, I got a new shop and I need stuff to put places. I didn't have time to do, or the wood, frankly, to build something really nice like this. So over time, that's what I want the rest of the shop to be. So this is my woodworking. This is a really wonderful place for me. And I think of the place that I'm working as kind of a setting. I don't know, it's maybe weird, but I like to transport a little bit. And this place to me this corner is where I do woodworking. So when you get there, and this is what lies behind that little thought process of transporting, when I get there, I'm there to do woodworking. I mean, I feel like doing woodworking when I enter this place. And I think that's just one of the little tricks that I've come up, for me at least, to try to keep motivated and keep kind of on task when I'm doing stuff, because I really struggle with that. I'm the kind of person that likes to just tangent and talk and think about different things when I'm thinking about something else. So all of these are, just custom built, and I love old tools, mainly because, I mean, look at the design of this. Just how things are designed and stuff. This old set of dividers is just wonderful. That's not that old, but there's just a feel to the older tools that I really like. This is an old staple puller, and I just love the fact that, it's got a very nicely turned handle. They just cared about it, This is, some of these are just collecting. I just like, oh, I love it, I have to have it. But I also, anything that I have here is used. These are my hand planes and stuff like that, and they're all tuned, they're all ready to go. I really, really like these hand planes, and when I got into woodworking a little bit more, and I think it's a natural thing for a lot of people. Some people just dive right into the handwork and don't do any of the power tool work or anything like that initially at all. But when I started, woodworking, I started doing it with power tools, and then eventually got to hand tools. And I got to tell you, there is there's a feel about working with hand tools and planing wood with your hand, with a hand planer. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And a lot of the stuff that I've done is done that way, but more for accents. I still dimension all my wood on power tools. I've got a really nice Powermatic table saw here right in the middle of the shop, so it's nicely accessible. You can reach all the way around it and get to it real quick. It's a great tool, but when it comes to the finishing parts of it and working with the wood and dovetailing and all that kind of stuff, doing it by hand is the way to go. It is a much more enjoyable experience, I'll put it that way. So that is my woodworking corner. I really like it. I also get amazing light through that window. That is Oscar's window. He's got a ramp all the way up there, because as he got older, it was just a little bit hard. He used to jump up into that window when he was younger, but after a while, he couldn't do it. And so I made that little ramp for him. But I get brilliant light through there. That's a southern-facing window. And so when I want to do my photography stuff, this is one of my favorite kind of backdrops, because I just love the look of it. So let's look a little further. When I do a little bit of design, I wanted a desk. Now, I really like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that. And I wanted something like the desk, that Bilbo had in Hobbiton. And so it's somewhat designed like that. But then the rest of it is just because I don't know. I didn't really design this. I just started building, and this is what came out of it. It's highly articulated, meaning that this top has this arm thing underneath it where I can take this from this angle to almost completely vertical, so I can do like drafting and stuff on it. And it works great. It's a little clunky when you're moving it, but once it's there, it's very sturdy, and so you can stand and do some drafting and stuff like that. I've taken pictures of it in different settings, or with it raised up or lowered, and so I'll show some of those at some point. This is kind of fun. I wanted this to stay level wherever it goes, so that was kind of neat. So that's where I do some of my drawing and stuff. I don't really do CAD. I worked in the CAD CAM industry for 23 years, and I find that this is more enjoyable, just to hand draw stuff. Protractor, compass, that kind of stuff. I really like hand drawing stuff. The old tech draw class that we had in school. So that's what I do here when I draw, because I do like to draw stuff out, but I typically don't design things when I'm building, I just start building. Okay, so that's the wood area. We looked at the model area, but let's go a little bit deeper because we probably haven't done that. Oscar is sitting by his heater. One of the things is here, I don't have any heaters in the shop proper. I do have a wall heater in the office. And so that will run you out of that office. So that is just great. I did insulate that room. A lot of times you don't insulate, you know, a room inside, but my thinking was I wanted to be able to close that door and maybe get the heat up in there real quick if it were cold out here. Well, that never transpired because I got oil heaters out here, and because Oscar lives out here, I keep it nice in here all the time. And because it's so highly insulated, man, it does not take a lot of heat out here. So that's really nice. So the model building corner, I've got like my little kitchenette, I guess you would call it. I've got a microwave and a coffee maker and a teapot, you know, to make hot water. Here is my airbrush station. I really want to change this. It's fantastic for you know, if you're portable and you just don't have a place to put stuff, you want to set up and take. It's just great, and I've used it for years now. I think a much better use for one is to put one right back in that corner, and so that's the plan. I have all the plumbing stuff that I've purchased and everything, so I'm going to rip all this stuff out and put sitting, you know, right at, maybe not like bench level. I might have it raised up a little bit to have it like a drawer or something else below it for supplies, but in that corner is going to be my my spray booth, and I'm really excited to do that. Here, I've got my paints, and that's when, you know, I put the paints here when I didn't have this return over here, because I added this side of the desk a little bit later. So when this was the primary desk, that's where I had my paint, and I still do a lot of hand painting. I like doing hand finishing and all that kind of stuff. And just on some of the smaller stuff I do, it's better to, it's so complicated and I want to pick stuff out. It's a lot better to do hand painting. But now it doesn't make sense here. I think when I remodel this thing, I'm going to put the paint kind of on either side, maybe flanking the spray booth. So I'll move it over a little bit and get it more centralized there. These are all the paints. I typically stick to Tamiya and Vallejo acrylics. So I use the Tamiya lacquer acrylic and then Vallejo acrylics. I do have some other paints here. I do have some, you know, submission models. I just got them on sale. Unfortunately, a local hobby store closed, and so they were just on sale, and I just bought just a slew of them. Well, I mean, it was a great price. But Tamiya has always been great. I love Tamiya. It has been very easy to use, and so I continue to use that for all my primary painting. All my figure and secondary and detail painting, I kind of switch right over to the acrylic. I just think it's easier for me to do. You know, I wet palette and go that route. For my washes, I love the Tamiya panel lines. I've tried the MIG and it's fine. It's just absolutely fine. These are the acrylic washes from Vallejo. Love those. They're absolutely great. The environment, like muds and putties and stuff like that. And then, of course, the Vallejo pigments. I love pigments, you know, especially for groundwork. You can do so much great stuff with those dry pigments when you're doing ground, and then you lay a, you know, a flat sealer over it, and man, you're doing great. A lot of the just little tools and cleaning and, you know, all the stuff you got for modeling. Over here is where I keep my glues and Mod Podge and PVAs. Here are caps. You know, I am a big one for, you know, recycling the lids of things, because those become paint palettes a lot of times, and glue palettes, because I like to put my glue out and dip into the glue stuff. Now, my tools, I like to organize my tools. I've seen a few people that just have like a drawer and they have just tools kind of in there, and then they just pull out a handful of tools, and that's not for me. I really want to organize my tools, and so I've built these little holders. They're all out of nice wood and stuff like that. And I think that the main reason I like these is when I'm building this desk, believe like a lot of people do, or there's highly organized people out there that never happens, but this happens to me. It just gets to be a pile of stuff. You know, I mean, there's just so much junk on there. I don't know, you know, I can't even see what I'm working on. Well, when I have an exact place for every tool, it's super easy to clean up. And that's really the trick. It's not necessarily to know where to go to get the tool. It's to know where to go to put the tool away. And so I can very quickly clean up, get my workspace organized, get my mind a little bit better organized, and dive right back into the project. So that's my philosophy on like tool holders. It's not so you know where to go get it. It's so you know where to put it so you can clean up real quick and kind of get back to work when it gets messy, because it's just going to get messy. So over here, I think that's about it. You know, just a bunch of supplies. The two yellow buckets there are all my electrical. I keep all my LEDs, all my resistors, all of my electrical componentry in there. And when I need it, I can reach down and grab it, or I bring it up on the desk and work directly out of it. And it's pretty awesome. I use a pancake compressor for my airbrushing. I haven't gone anything too fancy on airbrushes. They're Iwata's, HPC Plus and an HPC. So that's the HPC Plus in the back, and this is just an HPCS and Eclipse. Just very basic, not very expensive, you know, about $150 a piece for an airbrush. I do like the quick releases on them. Those are great because I can switch back and forth. One's a fine line, one's just a basic brush. And they work really good. I don't get any pulsing because of the little collector tank on the bottom there. Typically I set it at about 15 PSI, and that's what I shoot at. And works pretty good. Here's just cleaners and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty much it. It's nothing crazy in the bench area, but it's nice to have everything right there. Above it, this is like my graveyard of projects that just didn't pan out. It's just a bunch of stuff. Now I pull from that all the time and might do something with it. You know, it's something I put a bunch of time into, but it just didn't pan out, so I just go up there. And then these are just fun collectibles up here. You know, maybe some old models that I've done, like the X1, and gosh, there's a Spitfire that's just horrific. But just some fun stuff up here. And it's super dusty. I mean, ridiculously dusty up there. I mean, holy cow, there's like massive cobwebs, and it's just insane. I just don't get up there and clean very often. And there's so much dust flying around here because I still certainly do woodworking in here. And yeah, it can get pretty rough. I really do try to keep my electronics clean. Obviously, I vacuum them and stuff all the time, and I don't want to ruin it. So that kind of comes to this. This is kind of the studio side of like when I'm doing a live stream. I also record my videos here when I'm building. So this is my main building bench. I just take my keyboard and put it to the side and my mouse. Over here to the left, this is an M1 MacBook Pro 16-inch and fantastic computer. It's about a year old. Got it brand new, and I really like it. It's driving my live streams that I do every Friday at noon, and so that's what I'm basically pushing from. Down below, I've got a A10 Mini Pro. I didn't get the ISO. It was a financial thing. I'm like, man, do I want to spend that kind of money right off the bat? If you know anything about these, the ISO allows you to record multiple tracks and then edit from those tracks. The Mini Pro that I have, it'll just record one track. Now, I'm not actually recording. I'm streaming with this, so that's not really come into play. But down the road, you know, I may say, man, I wish I had that ISO. Above that, and this is my face camera, my primary #1 camera that when I'm doing my live streams, this is what I'm talking into. This is a Sony ZV-E10, and it's a really good camera. I really like it. I was really surprised on the zoom, how well it zooms, because a lot of times when I'm talking, I can go right back here where I've got my diorama setting, because I set it here or maybe over here to the left a little bit more. I'll have it there, and I can zoom right in and show some really nice details. So if you're looking at that kind of a camera, that's a nice one. It's digital. It's got clean HDMI, so that the signal that I'm putting out to stream is nice and clean. You know, it doesn't have a lot of archival information around it. This little 10-inch Lilliput monitor is fantastic. I just absolutely love it, because this is like, I can see all my cameras. So I have the computer, which you can see is active right now. I've got a top-down camera here, which is a Canon EOS 5D Mark IV, which also has clean HDMI. Really great camera. Full body, DSLR digital. And man, this is the workhorse. I have used this for the entire time I've been doing my YouTube stuff, and that's the primary camera I've been using. The Sony ZE-V10 is or ZXV. Heck, see, I can't remember. It is a ZVE10, Z Victor Echo 10. That's a great camera, and I really like it. But this one, when I shoot my videos, that's what I want to be the primary, like when I'm doing a long form video. The monitor allows me to go ahead and switch all the cameras. I can have 4 cameras going here. I've got 1 computer and 3 cameras. I've got my front face camera, I've got my top down, and then I've got a floater where I can have a secondary camera that I can just bring in and move around. I haven't done that much, but it does work when I'm doing consulting. The base here, this is great, but it really throws off the lighting, the auto lighting stuff and stuff for the cameras, autofocus stuff. So I will sometimes put a large sheet of black construction paper there as a background, and it gives a much nicer contrast. So just maybe a tip. Behind it, I have an aluminum bar that I can move the camera. It's on a super grip here, and I can move that along that bar anywhere and change its position. It's got an Oben ball head on it, and so it's real flexible, and it can move around real nice. Here I have this pole. This is a Varipole, and this Varipole goes all the way to the ceiling, and I've got this little trapeze set up so that I can have a camera mount right here, and I can move that anywhere along here. I've also got a light here, and I can move that and angle it and change it. That's an RGB, so I can change the color and temperature of that light and the intensity. And I also have the ability, I can unplug it here and then just literally swing this entire thing over here. I've got to reroute my power, but I can have lighting over here. This light can also go on that little trapeze, or it can go on the vertical bar, or where it's mounted now on my horizontal mounting bar. So, it took me a little while to get here, and I still don't know that it's perfect, but I know it gives me a lot of flexibility to do the filming that I do and to get the lighting that I need to properly show it. The thing that I'm working on now is background. When I'm filming something, I've got a lot of stuff in the background and not a lot of depth, so I can blur it out maybe. So what I'm thinking about is bringing in like a window shade, one of those pull down window shades in black or white. I don't know. White would be easier, a cream color. And then I can just pull it down and then have a white or a black backdrop. So that's an idea. And I've got the horizontal bar there to figure it out. But that might be a better thing. Then I could have a little studio here where I can actually shoot my models if I have that little, pull down window shade. So anyway, that is how I film. I'm connected here. I've got a CalDigit little hub that goes to a real nice router, and then all that information then routes into the office where I have all of my data storage and backups and cold storage and all that. And that's where I do my primary editing. So now I'm going to also be talking about like my dioramas and models, but I think I'll continue with kind of just going around the shop and go in the office next, and then we'll come back out and look at the models and the dioramas. I also, when we do the dioramas and stuff, I want to show you this because this is a miniature woodworking bench, and it's just super fun, and I think it's kind of a fun story. So here we are. This is my office. So this is a 10 by 10 office, as I said before. Sure, I didn't need a door on it, honestly, but I wanted a door, and I wanted a very specific door. And, you know, not a lot of people see it. It's just not very obvious. But it says Archaeology 101 Professor Henry Jones Jr. because I love Indiana Jones. And so this is my little Indiana Jones office door. And so it was just a really nice door. It was damned expensive, excuse my language. But it was worth it to me. And so, yeah, it was kind of fun. So this is the office. I'm going to try to get back here to show you the door and then come around. So that's the shop out there. And then here's the door to the office. Above it, I've got, this is kind of like just some fun stuff that I've built. A little guillotine. I was stationed in Berlin when I was in the Army. And so I made that little C-47, and then that's a map of Berlin. And the C-47 was to kind of commemorate the... This is a Taube. I really like early aircraft. I love airplanes. It just, you know, the look of them, the just everything about them, aviation. And one of the things that I keyed in on was just the early aircraft. I just absolutely loved them. So this is a Taube. This is not from a kit or anything like that. I just started building it. It's super heavy. It's like out of oak, for criminy sakes. And like I did hand beaten copper for the, you know, around the fuselage. But it's more of an art piece, I guess, you know. But it was a lot of fun. And I like to build stuff. I don't necessarily like to build somebody else's stuff, so I don't buy kits. I just start building. I loved the TV show Black Sheep, Baba Black Sheep, when I was a kid, about Pappy Boyington, and so I've always had an affinity for the Black Sheep Squadron, the 214, and that is a real World War II Pacific Theater you know, pilot's hat. I don't know what they call them, honestly. Helmet? No, I don't know. But anyway, that's what that is. And then up here, this is a fun light that I made years ago. It's based on my favorite movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I have a lot of favorite movies. I can categorize them because it's like, well, that's my favorite old movie. And this is that, you know. So 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and this is called my Captain Nemo light. I also love Egypt and Africa for some reason. I don't know. I think it's because of Indiana Jones. So I've got a lot of Africa and Egypt stuff. These are the shelves that I built in here because I always wanted a library. I thought, you know, growing up, we grew up in apartments, you know. And so I always thought, boy, a library, that's really classy or something, you know. And so I just wanted a library. And I do love it. I really, really do. The look of it, the feel of it, I really do honestly love it. So I built this, and it's built out of poplar. Poplar is typically a wood that you would use to make drawers out of, you know, the inside of drawers or cabinetry. Not like a presentation wood, not something you'd make the main structure of something out of. Though it's fine structurally. So what I did is I used poplar to build this, and poplar is about the color of pine. So it's very, very light, though it is a strong wood. So I had to put just tons of cinnamon stain on it to get all this beautiful color in here. So I love it. I don't know if I'd do it again because it was so darn expensive for the stain, but it just really came out great. I also kind of tried to age it or give it a little bit more character by using ebony with my airbrush. So the dark areas there, those aren't necessarily natural or even shadow. They are from airbrushing. So I just treated it like I would any other model, you know, something I built. I probably went overboard on the doors. It might have a little bit too much of that. So these are just, I love books. I like books. A few specifics. So this is one of my specifics. I love biographies, autobiographies about famous people. And that's what this is. Down here, these are my fantasy books. This is my favorite fantasy author, Raymond E. Feist. I have read this book once a year from 1986 or 87 was the very first time I got it. This is not the original book I had. I've lost that over time. But this is a compendium of the first two books, Magician, Apprentice, and Master. And yeah, I've read the book every single year, sometimes a couple of times a year, just because I love it. And there's more. The original story has 4 books in it. And so when I read that, I read the 2 other that complete that storyline every year, and it's just awesome. I just love it. It's one of those stories that you can crawl into and you feel comfortable and you just want to be in that world. Up here, this is more history, but like history and exploration. I like true life adventure. I got hooked on that many years ago when I picked up this book. I'll swing around here. This book is called I Married Adventure. It's actually pretty popular. I've seen a lot more people online and stuff like that now starting to resurgence of this book. But I picked it up because I thought it had a neat binding. And then when I read it, I just absolutely fell in love with it. So this is by Osa Johnson. This is Lion by her husband, Martin Johnson. This is Congorilla by Martin Johnson. And this is 4 Years in Paradise by Osa Johnson. So Osa and her husband were explorers in the early 1900s. They were on the vaudeville circuit, and they also did some of the first photojournalism in and filmmaking, long form filmmaking in Africa in the early 1900s. And I just loved the story. I loved the way she wrote. This is a really cool radio that my father-in-law gave me, and it is a working radio. It's a Hallicrafters. I think it was 1946, and man, I got to tell you, this thing is just so cool. I don't use it. I've never turned it on. My father-in-law said, "Look, it's working, but you need to probably get it looked over. It's so old that it could take a once over because you don't want to blow something out. Tubes you can buy, but those tubes are fine if you're careful with it." So yeah, just a wonderful radio. I really am a big fan of Leonardo da Vinci. You're going to see Leonardo-ish stuff virtually everywhere because a lot of my design ideas and influences and inspirations early on were directly from Leonardo da Vinci. That up there on the wall above the light is the very first wing that I ever made. And it may not be significant. Somebody says, "Hey, that's the first wing I ever made." Well, it's the fact that I've made so many more after it that makes it significant. That one is really fun. It's articulated. It folds up. I really like it. Well, that's all Da Vinci-esque design. And then I've done much more, more Da Vinci kind of things over the years. And it all started with that one. This is a map. And I thought it was a fun map. This little magnifying glass you can place anywhere on the map and it'll stay there, and it's because of this articulation and these cables that go to these counterweights. These counterweights are full of lead shot. They're actually copper tubes that are full of lead shot, and they counterweight this thing so that it will stay anywhere you put it. The other thing that helps that is the top of it, the top of the map itself is on a rail, so we can go left and right. And so the combination of those two movements will allow you to put it anywhere on there. Got a bunch more Indiana Jones stuff. That is my young man. That is RJ. He's passed away. We are cat people. We are serious cat people. We don't mess around with our cats. Our cats rule the roost, and we make the best family and home for them that we possibly can. These are just really cool pictures. That's like George Lucas and making Indiana Jones. Just a bunch of, stuff that I think is fun. I like skulls for some reason. I think skulls are neat. Always have. Down here is more Indiana Jones stuff. My wife is so awesome. She really buys into my collecting and my likes and my craziness. And so she has supported that over the years. She got me this. This was a birthday present. I built the case and the display and all that kind of stuff, but she got me the Indiana Jones DX05 figure from Hot Toys. And man, it's just great. It's it's a full size 1/6 scale figure, and man, really nicely articulates and stuff like that. But I did want to protect it, so I built this here display, and I think that's out of Sapili. Down here is Late Patrol, and it's not the first diorama I did, but it may be the first kind of full diorama I did, because it's got the trees and it's got a story and it's got the, all the kind of elements that I think make a fun diorama. And so this is the first one I did in this fashion. Now, once I did that, then I built the display for it, and that also started a trend because I thought, it's in this environment. It's hugely dusty in here, and to somehow protect it, uh-oh, somebody's got an itch. Oh, sorry, buddy. He's not enjoying that. But because I needed to protect them, I wanted to put them in glass cases. I like glass over plexi. I just do. Some people think it's dumb, but I really like glass over plexi. And so most of these are just regular glass. This big one, just because of how big it is, Tarawa, that's got tempered glass in it. So anyway, I like these because they protect them, and I also like the look of a museum. I really do. When I was a kid, going to museums was super fun, and I just liked that look. And so that's the other reason that I build them, because I kind of would like to have a huge museum in here, just like a display museum. Anyway, I really like this. This is a just like a book stand with a light built into it. I love this. It's all cherry. I turned this years ago. And when we were kids, you didn't have the internet. You'd run into the library in elementary school and you would go directly to this. And we'd look up fun stuff, and it was just fun. It's like, what's this word or what's that word? I just really enjoyed that. Me and my best friend did that. So I had to make one of these, and I love it. This is my little SAS Jeep. I just absolutely love this little kit because it has two figures. I didn't add them in this, but you can do so much with it. You can kind of, upgrade it and add little details to it and do all the things you want to do. And it's so small but so detailed that, it's just a complete kit. I absolutely love it. The little display, it's just on a road in in North Africa, Tunisia, in World War II, and yeah, it's just really simple and real quick, and you can have it really anywhere. That's the other thing I like about it. I do huge things, and every once in a while I'm like, wow, I like that little small thing. Okay, so let's go back over here. I also like submarines, and that is because of the opening scene of Red October, Hunt for Red October. That movie, where it's in the very opening scene where it's in his library where he's getting ready to go fly from England to back to the United States. That is something that I don't know. I just love the look of that scene. So, and I like submarines. So I've been doing that. And that's like one of the main reasons this is that color in here, where I've got the browns and the reddish browns in the office. So anyway, that's a little insight there. Back over here, when I was stationed in Berlin, I was there before the wall came down. And so that is a piece of the Berlin Wall. The other thing that I think was important that we all kind of decided on when we were saying, hey, where are we going to do it? Well, I got this piece of the wall in Steinstücken, which is a very specific place in Berlin, and there's a whole story behind it. But also, I wanted to get a piece that had paint on it, graffiti. because that was, you know, what the wall was known for. Now, I came back from Berlin with just a crud load of this stuff, but I think most of it is gone. You know, I've given pieces away. This is the only piece I can identify that I still have. But yeah, I've given other pieces away to people and stuff like that. But that's my last piece. I'm keeping it because that was a pretty hairball kind of, you know, place and time. This is well, I'll do this first. This is an M41 Walker Bulldog, and this was really fun. I had not done something like mid-war. This is, well, I mean, I just did it like, you know, I don't know if this is supposed to be Korea or not, but it was very nondescript. But I just wanted to do that Bulldog. It's a really cool looking tank. I like the Walker Bulldog. And I did a bunch of brass stuff on this. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this here. But that, yeah, it's going to be a really cruddy zoom, so I'm not going to do it. That 50 cal on top, it probably looks better not zoomed in anyway. That 50 cal on top, I built from scratch. It's all brass. And I turned it on my little Unimat lathe, I think I showed earlier. And I really love how it came out. It looks great. You know, you can't tell it's not the kit. I can tell you that. Now this is called Rommel's Fuel Dump. And, you know, I like doing the story behind my stuff. And I also like North Africa. I'm going to take a chair while I'm talking about this one. Okay, so what this is supposed to be is I kind of figured that Rommel's primary driver would have an area where he could have Rommel's primary vehicle ready at a moment's notice, if that's the vehicle he wanted to take, and he would be set and ready to go. I also saw it as a private little paddock because, you know, the driver has special access to Rommel, so it's going to be a little different. So that's what we have here. Over here in the lower corner, he's got like some supplies that maybe not everybody has. There's actually fresh fruit in there. There's a bag of potatoes. He's got more ammunition. So that's all stuff specifically for Rommel. Here's Rommel's vehicle, one of his staff communication cars. There is a radio where the driver sleeps right behind it, and you know, he's got a chair and stuff like that. There's the radio antenna up there. In the back here, he's got his own fuel supply. So I've got a benzene tank back there so he can get his own fuel. He does not have to. And you know, to have something like that for your vehicle, that's a pretty big deal because typically you didn't have that. Here he's got a shower. So there is a barrel that is up on that little bluff, and it's been plumbed. And it has a shower head and a little pole, and you can take a shower. And then there's a little blind and a towel. And then there's some other stuff. So that is Rommel's fuel dump. Over here around the corner is Rommel's little area itself. So in there, I you know, just kind of hypothesized that he would have his own private area where he can go and he can kind of take a minute. He's got a bottle of scotch back there. He's got all his maps. He's got all of his stuff. He's got his bunk. It's ready. It's not slept in. And he's got a rocking chair. And I just thought, you know, as these commanders are, you know, they might have a place like this. I love this diorama. It was a really fun, simple diorama. No figures. Yeah, I hadn't started doing... Well, I think I had done figures, certainly, by then, but I just didn't do any for this because I couldn't find the Rommel figures that I wanted. They're out there. I just couldn't find them. The other thing that's neat about this is it hangs on the wall. So I wanted something where I would have a bookshelf on top. I would have the diorama, and below it, I've got some drawers. Well, the drawers are also, and just because I'm holding this, I can't do it. But, you know, I just have like pens and drives and, you know, silly stuff in there. But if you look, it only goes back that far. Well, behind each drawer, there is a secret drawer. And you can't really tell that it's in there. And that's obviously on purpose. But there's like a secret latch underneath the cabinet that you can only reach underneath, and that is got a spring latch that will release those the secret drawers behind each of those drawers, and you can release them and then pull them out. And they're big enough to put something, you know. And so, yeah, it was kind of fun. I wanted to build something that was like useful. You know, I wanted to build something, a piece of furniture with a diorama in it that held another purpose, so that it, you know, the whole thing would be, you know, useful. And that's what I came up with, and I really like it. I have some first edition comic books. And some of these are mine. Well, they're all mine, but some of them I collected, like the Rocketeer and stuff. But like the Iron Man, that's a first edition Iron Man. That is my buddy Tom gave that to me. And I just freaking love it. He's a big collector too. And so I've got a bunch that he's given me. The Freak Brothers he gave me. I think he gave me the Freak Brothers because he knew I love Freak Brothers. I grew up with Freak Brothers. I had all of them as a kid, and probably a bad influence, but I just think they were the funniest things in the world. And then here I've got another Rocketeer. I've also got a Silver Surfer back there. I got a, you know, when I put my diorama in here, I kind of covered some of that up. And then I've got another edition. I think it is, what's that back there? Oh, it's a Doctor Strange. There's a Doctor Strange back there. So I got to pull those out and put them somewhere else. But I just recently put Wolfenstein in here. So why don't we talk about that? So Wolfenstein, this is like the first one that I did the full story on. And I guess I illustrated the story by having these little placards. And here, as you come up to Wolfenstein, you know, it says what it is, and it kind of gives the basic synopsis, and then it talks about a daring mission. And so what I did was I set this up so that you could follow each little vignette or each little scene in the diorama, and by reading the placards, and it guides you through it like in a video game. Also, like in a video game, it has like health and upgrades, weapons packs, and things like that, so that you can collect them as you go through it. So it is really, really based on the Wolfenstein, or I keep saying Wolfenstein. It's Wolfenstein. I say Wolfenstein because I'm a huge fan of Young Frankenstein, and he says it's Frankenstein anyway. So, so you go through this, and you finally reach the top, and then you vanquish these guys, and you know, finish the mission. The fun thing about this is this is the first. This was entered in the first IPMS contest that I'd ever competed in. I'd been to other shows, but I'd never entered a contest, and it got first place in Fantasy Diorama, and it also got best diorama overall for the entire show. So I was just blown away. I did it because I love doing it, and I think it's really fun, you know. But to have other people appreciate it and like it so much, that's just, you know, that's just frosting. That's just wonderful. I love it. So anyway, that is Wolfenstein. I really enjoyed building this. It was a very long project. I once said it was like 18 months. It wasn't. I think it was like 8 months. I went back and looked. It was 8 months, I think, to build it. It took a long time to build. There's a lot of electronics in it. No Arduino, surprisingly, but a lot of electronics, a heck of a lot of lights. I don't know how many lights. People ask me that. They ask me how long it takes, how many hours. I honestly don't know. I wish I had that number for you. I'm trying to do that on my current diorama, you know, figure that stuff out. But yeah, great diorama. But just, yeah, I don't know how long it took to make. Sorry. So that is that. This, I want to talk about this real quick. See this picture? Well, that's me and my wife. But this picture right here, my friend Tom took. So my best friend Tom, we've known each other since 5th grade, and been best friends since 5th grade. So that's like, what? I don't know, a million years. Well, he was just this super amazing photographer. It was as a hobby, and that's one of the pictures he took. And I have these pictures all throughout our house because he was amazing, absolutely amazing. And I say was because he's still around, but he lost his sight. My best friend lost his sight, and he's legally blind at this point. He can still see shades and stuff, so he's not running into stuff, but he can't do his photography. But I mean, his photography was just ridiculous. He's a huge hiker, and so he would go and hike up and take these. These are all in Washington State, high alpine lakes and stuff, and get them right at sunup or dusk or whatever. And just, man, I got to tell you, really, really good stuff. So someday I need to be showing his stuff up here too. One thing I haven't talked about in here is these things up here. So these are just fun models that I made. That's kind of like an orrery. It's like a celestial body with another one orbiting it and then orbiting another. That is a Da Vinci 3. I got to move the camera here. It's a Da Vinci 7 spring, I think, or 9 spring catapult. And if you look at the Da Vinci drawing, it looks just like it. And then that is my magnifying light. I use that magnifying glass when I model at shows and stuff like that because I can't have my other glasses and all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool and people love it. So it's kind of fun. Okay, what else in here? So I think we talked about my books. We talked about, this is Major Matt Mason. Did I talk about him? My wife got me that. It was my favorite toy as a kid growing up. And I had to give it up in 1975 when I was 11 years old because we moved and we couldn't take it with us. And my wife found one. It's the moon crawler behind him. That's Major Matt Mason. I can't remember this guy. I'm sure I could look it up and figure it out, but I was like, nah, I don't care. But he was the major villain. And this is Major Matt Mason. And this was just my absolute favorite. It's like Zork or something. I don't know. And absolutely loved it. And my wife found one, and it actually works. It's just awesome. So she's just the best, I mean, I got that comment from some family this week, and they said, your wife's parents did you a favor by allowing you to, because her dad collected some stuff, kind of like this. And so that was pretty awesome. These are just, I loved Speed Racer as a kid, and I have tried to watch it again. Oh my gosh, no way. It is so horrible. But anyway, and loved Batmobile and the original Batman, 1966, I think it was, the TV show and the movie. Now, these are horribly dusty. You see that? The dust on there is just ridiculous. But, yeah, it's being in a shop. It's actually wood dust, not dust. Over here is my Star Wars collectibles. Star Wars came out the summer between 6th and 7th grade. So, going to junior high the next year. So this was like I was 13 years old. This was, made for me at that age. And it was just the greatest movie. I didn't see Star Wars in like the big cinema and all that kind of stuff. I saw it in a multiplex. But when Empire came out, I saw Empire at the UA 170 down in Seattle, and I got to tell you, that was awesome because that was like the huge premiere. And I think I watched every showing that day. I just went back and got in the line because you could do that back then in the 70s. And it was just fantastic. I just loved it. But and I love the new movies. I think they're great. I have them all, and I love Star Wars, but I really have an affinity for the first three. Those were my absolute favorites. This is, I love airplanes. It's pretty apparent. And this shelf is Peenemünde. So Peenemünde is where the Germans during World War II developed the V1, V2 rockets and that whole system and stuff. And at one point it was discovered that's where they were coming from. And so that was bombed out. So I wanted to do the base of this shelf as Peenemünde bombed out. You can't see it because I got all this stuff in there now, but that's it. I got there's a lot of aerial photography, and so I did a bunch of splashes to show Peenemünde bombed out. And yeah, I tried to follow it as close as possible, and the river there and all that. So yeah, it was kind of fun. But also it's just a dust magnet. Up here is just, I love Indiana Jones. That we've already established that. And this is a transit that we found years ago, my wife and I. And it's just fantastic. I had to get it. It was not very expensive. And the cool thing was it has the tripod and it has the box and all the stuff with it. That's the plumb bob that came with it. You know, this really brilliant old plumb bob. So yeah, so just some old knickknacks and bric-a-brac and that kind of stuff that I really like. I like this kind of thing. Up there, that is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That is a Scott Brodeen made Nautilus. And I got that from Scott a number of years ago. And wonderful man. He was failing in health. Unfortunately, I don't know if Scott is still with us. He may be, and I hope so. But just a wonderful guy. And he made this for me, and then just a couple of years after that, I think he sold all of his stuff or gave all of his stuff. I'm not sure which, to RC Sub Guy, which is also an amazing guy down in Florida. RC Sub Guy is brilliant. He does submarines, and if you're into submarines, you got to know RC Sub Guy. Please look him up. He's absolutely wonderful guy. So anyway, I love that. I'm a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. We have been season ticket holders for like 8 years, and I just love the Seahawks. They're good, they're bad, but that's what football is, and I love them. So I only go to a couple of games a year. You know, my back is not something the jumping up and down and yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff. I just can't do it anymore. So I only go to a couple of games a year, but my family and friends, get my other tickets. So that's, I think, pretty much the shop, or not the shop, but the office. I haven't really talked about my editing gear. So this is my editing setup. So that is a 2023 MacBook Pro M2 14-inch. I really like it. I just got it. It's I don't think it's even a month old, and it edits fantastic. I originally had a 13-inch i5 2011 MacBook Pro that I was editing with, and didn't have the horsepower. I got the M1. Then the 13-inch kind of went out, and I got the M2 Air 15-inch. Yeah, forget about it. Doesn't have the horsepower, and it doesn't drive multiple monitors. So I just couldn't use it. I could do one extra monitor, but I needed two because of how I work. So anyway, that's what I edit from. I edit directly from a Thunder Drive Mini from OWC, I think it is. I should check that. But it just works great. I've got all of that, down here. Yeah, it's a mess. And then I've got this for my cold store. I've got a bunch of other, terabytes down there. I think I'm rocking about 75 terabytes right now. But a lot of it's cold store, because like there's I think that's a 10 and a 12 terabyte in that, and I can access that, but that's not fast enough to edit from. But I do for my Thunder Drive. It's a solid state, so SSDs, and so I can edit directly from it, which is pretty cool. It's very comfortable in here to edit. That's the other thing. I've got this insane view, and when the deer and the elk are in the backyard, it's really fun. But yeah, I have just a wonderful view. It's nice and snuggly in here. I've got, this is a 45-inch Samsung. You can kind of see me in there. Hello. 45-inch Samsung. I got my PS4 in here. I've got a new Apple TV in here. And so, yeah, I can get in here and watch TV or play my games. But anymore, I don't commit the time to playing games. I used to love playing my World War II shooters, and I just can't do it anymore because I'm thinking, man, I want to be building. So I just don't do it. Just some other knickknacks and bric-a-brac. That's my sweetie wife when we were younger. Because we have been married for 28 years now, and dating since 1990. So yeah, we've been together for 30 years plus. This is a fun little cabinet that I made. I just, I don't know. I like building different things, and I like to try to, I don't know, build stuff that is interesting. Because when I sit in here and I look around and I'm just kind of, chilling out, maybe reading, this is just feels really, really super comfortable to me, you know? And I think that's an important thing sometimes, especially if you have a high stress job like I used to have. I don't now, but I used to have a high stress job, sales, And it was a way for me to get back in and kind of decompress at the end of the day. And it made it really nice to wake up in the morning on a weekend and come out here and it's dark outside, in the wintertime, and it's cold and it's warm in here, and I'm hanging with Oscar and I'm reading or I'm editing or whatever. It's just a great office then. Now, it's even a wonderful office because it is something that I'm in throughout the day, not just after work. And it's something I can come into and do some work, but still have that same feeling of comfort. I don't like the white walls. I grew up in apartments, like I said before, and just having like white walls surround me is not. I don't like the barren aesthetic where everything is just so pristine and prim and proper and it looks like a flippin' hospital or a hotel room. Well, a hotel room is not enjoyable to me. That is the least thing. An old home or an old manor or something like that. That is comfortable, enjoyable to me. When people say, "Oh, you can, take a vacation by going to a hotel," yuck. Have no interest in taking a vacation and going to a hotel and spending the weekend in a hotel. Zero. This is where I want to spend my weekends because my wife is here with me. My boys are here with me. Oscar's here with me. It's brilliant. Couldn't get better. So anyway, now I'm just droning on. So let's go out here. I think that's a pretty definitive, walk through the shop here. Have we gone back here? I think so. What I'll do is I'm gonna kind of stop at this point because I still need to do my models. I really want to go for my models, but I want to make sure that I've got everything in here that I don't have to go back and hit something. But I want to go through and do these models and show you my dioramas because that's a really fun part of this. That's what this whole shop exists for. So I'm going to stop this and then we'll get back to it in a little bit.